Good morning. Good morning. Doke. If you guys can hear me, that's good. Problem has been resolved. Give a couple, maybe a minute or two, and we'll get started. How's everybody doing? What's up, Mega Yeti? Oh, you mad? We're good. We're good. Slow ass fucking market. The past few weeks, it is what it is. Do our best to describe it, talk about it, share experiences. If there's live setups, we'll take them. But if there isn't, please bear with me. It is what it is. What's up, cryptos? Cody? Hope you guys are all doing well. All right, we got 25 people in here. You could tell. You could tell that the market's starting to get to people. Everybody's starting to get less interested in the daily, the day-to-day operations, which is kind of upsetting because all it takes is a couple months and everybody starts losing faith and hope again. And then for the next 4 months when the market is roaring, they'll ignore it and then they'll join at the very very last second and then you know sit through 3 4 months of nothing happening and then leave again. It's similar story. We're used to seeing it a lot. But if you're still with us, welcome to the gray zone. This is how a market will spend most of its time. So, getting more realistic day-to-day operations for a trader. Sometimes it really is just like that. It could be boring. It could be uninspiring. It is what it is. But we'll do our best to talk about it. So today for BDC, we'll start off with the M15 on BTC ETH. Maybe do a couple of alt charts, even though, oh, look at INJ finally taking off. Nice, nice. We're finally starting to see some life on this one. We'll look into it in just a second. But yeah, so this is Bitcoin's M15. Really uninspiring, pretty boring. It is what it is. Trading in the 64,000, 60,000 demand block. Um, that's this block right here. So as you can see, bleeding out price action. A lot of people probably starting to get concerned, maybe a bit worried. I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm not. Same shit, different day. Excuse my language. Same shit, different day. Shit, different day, and same shit, different day. It's really really been light in terms of corrections and what to expect. If you've been here before, previous cycles, you definitely know how much more dramatic it can be, how much more punishing it could be and unforgiving it could be. Now we've seen this on alts, and I'm not one to shy away from that. But when it comes to BDC in comparison, we've really had nothing to be concerned about. I think suffering a max 22% drawdown from the highs so far, which has been, yeah, 22, 23%. That's not much. We're typically used to seeing a 30, 40% pullback before we see any like decisive moves. So just keeping that in mind. We're still grinding out in the daily demand zone on the M15. This is how it looks. Very very choppy. Not a lot of things that give you an edge or something that makes you feel like you need to trade right away. But today we do have a setup, and this setup is going to vary. Most importantly, this is the pivot, the 200 EMA, 62,360 on Coinbase. So that's the spot index and spot prices are going for. Um, we like this. We like when the 200 EMA creeps underneath the pivot. It allows us strength to spot a setup. You have a nice block of bids over here. This could be used as an invalidation point. We still have yet to see. Now, what I'm hoping happens today is we touch back into the 200 EMA, maybe deviate slightly underneath, come back up, and that'll be our trigger. But for now, we're just kind of stuck in limbo. Price is just chopping around, not doing anything. And the last thing you want to be um, especially when you're looking for a winning trade or you're in an environment that's not allowing you to capitalize on movements. The last thing you want to do is just be you know cut to pieces by 1,000 cuts. It's just the last thing you want to do. You want to keep your head sharp. You want to stay optimistic, and you definitely don't want to be struggling between 0.5%, 2% moves. It can get quite annoying, quite frustrating, and it'll lead to mistakes. So the first thing you want to avoid is the sense of urgency, the need to trade all the fucking time, because as you can see, uh, price has not really gone anywhere. Within the day, you've always had to change your bias. So keeping that in mind, if you feel like you're struggling to find trades, you're not alone. A lot of experienced traders over here are probably on a little hiatus. Um, until they could see a clear direction or a clear trend, right? We've really just had a lot of consolidation, shuffling in value areas. So you got to give priority to bigger time frames. Smaller time frames are going to chop around, do the thing. And as you can see on a daily time frame, really not much movement. Either you have strong convictions at the bottom of these ranges, which at 64, 60K we've already done. Now, as far as the 15-minute goes, as you can see, just not much happening, even for a regular NY session. Just not a lot for you to feel like you need to make a trade. So today we keep it very, very simple. We look for reaction towards 62,350. If it goes higher than R1, maybe we'll consider something else, but we got to clear those highs again. 3 rejections over here, looking kind of weak, but a strong push above it would make me change my opinion. But the reality is, I'm looking more for the pivot to NGDMA, bounce off there, hold off there, and then send that into R1, R2, R3. That'll be our trade setup for the day. Of course, we're going to look for the sweep, the deviation before taking the trade, because a couple of times we've been caught trying to take the trade early, and we end up just following through, and we could have avoided that. So for BDC, it's going to be a no man's land sort of day. Once again, fighting in a very, very valuable area, and we just have to wait and see what happens in that regard, right? So for BCM 15, kind of straightforward, pretty fucking boring. Excuse my language, but it is what it is. Now for Ethereum, we're much closer to the point where we would expect reaction, and we've kind of just begun to see this. This is the pivot 200 EMA. As you can see, touched right into it, trying to bounce off of it, but not enough for us to just make our idea just yet. What I would like to see, there's a couple more tests below, hold this level, and then get descending. This would fall in line with our volume oscillator flush. It would fall in line with dominance taking a turn down here. And if we take a look at funding, we'd have to see funding drop, which is what we're seeing. Still at a 97 premium, but falling down to 48. BDC pretty much teeter-tottering into the negatives. These are signs you want to see, although it's not guaranteed. But for an intraday scalp, if you're grinding on this level, a couple of tests and holding of this, that should give us a long trigger or at least a scalp trigger. And that's what we're going to be looking for today on ETH. Of course, if we fall right below, we just assume a flat hedge position, meaning if we can't manage to hold, I want to say these lows over here because we could deviate below this. If we can't hold these lows here, we're just going to assume this is going back down. Probably going to chop between S1 and S2, which you'd like to avoid. And S3, if it's given, we'll take it. But that's kind of a ways away, so we're not going to consider it and spook people out. Right now, you have this to look forward to, the pivot 200 EMA, which if we hold on a volume oscillator reset, meaning any push to the upside, any sort of buying momentum to the upside, met with rates like this, probably going to test the sell side liquidity. So that's what we're looking for. That's what we want to keep. And for BTC and BTC and ETH, it's pretty straightforward. Two clear levels, much different in comparison to the past 3-4 days. So um, with our intraday levels and technical indications, actually lining up this time, might be worth to take the trade, but we're not going to be the first ones to jump into it. We're going to wait to see for the level to hold before jumping into it. Morning, Spaniard. Good morning, Marion. And good morning, Ragnaros. So I covered BTC and ETH for the 50-minute time frame. It's pretty boring again, so pretty easy to talk about. Now we can talk about some other things. What's up, Dal? How you doing? We can talk about some other things. Probably our spot bags, which I think we have INJ, OXO, BTC, and Solana. So we're going to talk about them, see what they're up to. Yeah, we'll take a look at the even more or less liquid pairings. We'll take a look at those right after I discuss after I discuss the spot bags we picked up along the way in this recent market correction. I'll get to RNDR shortly after this. I guess we'll start with Solana, just because it seems to be the one that's following the course the best. And again, this is a scenario 2 option. So again, we are grinding on this demand level, which is where we've allocated spot to, somewhere in between 131 and 124. So this is a level that's been kind of comfy, although you can get down to 109, 19 or around 98, 109, and we'll still be okay with this. Again, we're in it for the medium to long term, so that's anywhere between 3 to 12 months. But I do like our areas that we're interested in the event that this bounces from here. That's great. We have a spot allocation. In the event it shows weakness and wants to go lower here, that's great. We average down with our spot allocation, and it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's nothing too far away from our risk tolerance. It's all within what we've expected. On our way down, we calculated, look, we're going to add a nice spot allocation here, and we're going to have a place to average down in case we get even lower, because determining exactly where a bottom is not so easy, but we can determine an area of value that we do deem to be worth our while. And in this case, we were able to identify two areas, albeit only got filled on one, but in the event we get filled on the next one with this 200 EMA, I expect it to have a pretty sharp response. So that's what we're looking for. So for Solana, let it do its thing. Again, this is a daily setup, so watching it shuffle over here and find bids and value is normal. You can't expect 3 months of corrections just to be met with 3 days of of parabolic price action. So again, these retests are usually when someone has a really good idea and probably closes it out just before a really really strong move. So we're sticking to our plan here. We have another place to average down. So you do get lower than this, you shouldn't be too worried. All part of the plan. And again, since we can't predict, you know, if we actually get this value area, this area will serve as a really strong area for us as well. So it's good that we highlight both of them, make decisions on both of them, and now let the market do its thing. So for Solana, everything looks good here. I don't really see anything out of the ordinary. Again, maybe just a couple more weeks of shuffling, and if it has to do that, or if it has to drop deeper and then find its way back up, we're considering both, so we're okay with both. But for Solana, being 30-40% down, you really shouldn't have too much of an issue or too much of a fear. It's done pretty well for now. I don't see a reason to panic over this one or to change your opinion. Just let it do its thing. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Just let it do its thing for now. Um, I think we covered OXO as well, right? So this one's going to be interesting to talk about, because as good as it looks, we're still, similar to Solana, we're still expecting a deeper pullback, a deeper drawdown into this 200 EMA. We've now hit the resistance level, which I would expect the fighting point to happen. And there's three scenarios here that I am considering, and I'll tell you the first one. The first one is, this is demand level is sufficient enough to continue bouncing into new highs. For that to happen, you need to be trading back above 36 or 37. You need to be reclaiming this level and holding it as a base before you continue moving up again. So again, to be rejecting around the 36 level, consolidating under it, not a bad sign, but if we're going to start tumbling over, then we could expect a deeper drop into the 50-60% drawdown zone, which is going to be somewhere around 24 to 19 cents, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, 21 to 17 cents. This is going to be another area where you'd want to allocate, again, for a daily swing, for a long to medium term allocation. This could take some time to resolve. We got a sharp buyback from this area of demand, so it's only enough to assume that there is buyer interest here. People are filling. Is it enough? We'll find out. But one area I'm really, really happy to average down into is going to be this 50 to 60% drawdown zone. If we get it, that's great. If we don't, again, you have two plans here. Either this area over here that we allocated into performs exceptionally well, and we're happy with our decision. For that to happen, we would need to see above 36, consolidate above 36, not below it. And from there, we can change our plan. And again, if we're just going to reject from 36, well, it's either you're getting a response from the 31-cent area, which is where we started our first spot allocations, or you're going to see a drop even deeper into 21 to 17 cents, which again shouldn't come as a concern to you if you're allocating spot the way I would. But that being said, this daily chart looks, pretty damn good. It could take some time for it to. It could take some time for it to resolve, but it looks pretty damn good. It's a structure that should excite you and shouldn't make you worry, not too much, at least not in my opinion. For INJ, that's good. For we did Sol, OXO, now we're gonna do INJ. So let's take a look at INJ. Should you reallocate? I don't believe in that. I made a decision. This is my decision. To average in anywhere between 31 to about 24. That gives us about 27.5, 28 of an average. I still think this level is going to resolve to the upside, and if it doesn't, that's trading. But to me, very honest with you, despite its lack of performance in comparison to other areas we sniped, this is an area I still have a lot of conviction and belief in. I mean, for the most part, I did expect it to shuffle around and under the 200 EMA. This was predicted, in my little squiggly lines over here. Just had a feeling, just based on how well they distributed up here into new highs. They faked it out. It's only normal. They want you to feel bearish underneath the 200 EMA, and for that reason, so I have belief that we will eventually just deviate back above it, and that's going to give us a lot more a lot more conviction in our idea, because right now we're just sitting at the low bulk of our bids, and pretty much where we finalized our final spot allocations. As you can see, I didn't have this level considered. I just didn't expect INJ to wick into 17. But for the most part, still think this area has a lot of value and needs to be tested once more. So we're in the process of seeing this. I think the real party starts once you get above, the 20. Ooh, it's moved up quite a bit. Now I would say around the 28.5, $30 area is where you could start to, get a bit more optimistic on the immediate short term of how these bags are going to perform. But for now, the only thing I'm considering is a rejection from 30, 31. It's the only thing that might concern me, just because of how long we've deviated underneath the 200 EMA. I would have expected this to reclaim rather quickly. But when we look at it in the grand scheme of things, we should be expecting this over the next day or two. That if there's a seller side liquidity over here that needs to be engulfed, it will happen in this sort of structure. When everybody's convinced it'll break down lower, this is where you would want to see it get engulfed, right? So we're banking on this. 30.5 is going to be the fighting point. That's an area we're really going to have to look at. If that gets reclaimed and that shows us no fight, I think we have the right idea. So just keeping it in mind. It's been shuffling. It's not been doing much. So therefore, there's no real reason to second doubt your ideas or to get involved in the emotional turmoil. When you're sticking to spot bags, daily buys, daily purchases, the last thing you want to do is feel convinced or influenced by smaller time frames, right? The only way you want to get convinced or influenced is probably on a bigger time frame, so a weekly, a daily, even a monthly. And in this case, I just don't think we have enough data to go off of. So for that, I think the daily is going to be your best bet here when you're dealing with swing operations. So never, ever, ever, this is a lesson to you guys. If you guys have spot convictions and you're telling yourself, oh, but this is a medium to long term conviction, there's absolutely no reason for you to be selling on a short time frame. And that's how you guys should be treating it. You either trust your idea or you don't. That's the only thing that's going to keep you away from the emotional turmoil, because there's going to be days where price is up 5%. You're going to think the bottom's in. Then the next day it just pours down 8%, and you just have no control over that. So it's better to, if you have a conviction, just tell yourself this is what I picked, and this is what I'm okay with losing, and it could take its time. It could take its time, and I shouldn't be influenced on the smaller time frame. It's very, very, very important, you guys. Don't trick yourselves into these mental gymnastics. BNB for spot breakout from range, 4-hour long-term target idea for cycle high. It's funny because I really did like BNB, and I still do, based on this chart. I don't think it looks terrible at all. It's one of the better ones, and for to be very honest with you, I don't know why nobody's fucking talking about it. I really don't, because I think it's performed quite well. I think it's held a lot of higher lows here, and it just keeps grinding, pushing on this resistance. Major decisions any minute away from happening here. Obviously, I'm not a triangle trader or shit like that, but this compression is going to lead to a rather large expansion or decompression, right? So whatever move over here, it's becoming down to the wire, just grinding on that 200 EMA. The only difference is I don't know if you look at this as weakness or strength. It's pretty difficult to tell, because more touches onto the 200 EMA, more deviations below, and lesser highs above the previous. Kind of look like price is just getting squashed here, but it does look good. It does look good. Volume is quite important too. So I'm I find it very interesting that nobody's actually talking about BNB the way they should, because it's actually performed really well. Do I think it goes to cycle highs? I mean, you're right there. You're right there. It's slightly underneath. I mean, I would consider it as consolidation underneath previous highs, right? Unless I'm looking at the wrong chart. I think I'm looking at the wrong chart here. Hold on. Let me look at BNB's. Yeah, there you go. Fuck, man. I've seen worse. I've seen much worse. I do think this eventually gives out. That's just me. But realistically, you've spent almost no time in this area. This is the longest amount of time you spent at these prices. To be very honest with you. Long-term target for next cycle high. I mean, we're gonna have to build break cycle highs for me to determine that. But I guess what you're asking me is that's less than 100x away. 100x. Holy shit. That's less than 100% away. So like I don't see it as impossible. I don't. If we're gonna go into a secondary market parabolic cycle, like a secondary, exchange coins, meme coins, et cetera. If we're gonna go into that, if you're a believer of that, then I don't see why that wouldn't valuate at least 100% higher. I just don't think you should be buying into a new all-time high. I think you know difficult to determine this one. It almost looks too good to be true. Almost looks like it's just gonna print straight back down. I hate to be that guy. I can't help but feel that it looks too good to be true to just break up here. But I could see why it does. This is crypto, right? I could see why it does. I would need some like Binance catalyst for me to determine this. Bought at 15, sold at 520. Shit, those are fuck. Those are like 2017 levels, 2018 levels. That's when Binance was first becoming a thing, if I remember. I remember Binance being fuck 15 to $70 back in my day. Yeah, like I remember Binance coin being like 15 bucks, 20 bucks for sure. Kind of crazy to see where it's at today. Yeah. Wormhole is dead. I don't even know what this means. I think if they announce for a new airdrop, we get there. Interesting. Yeah, I'm a bit out of the loop with on-chain stuff. Announce for a new airdrop. I mean, fuck, more promising of free money, huh? I really do think you just need people to believe that BSC is gonna have another rally or an echo bubble, and I think that's what's gonna give you your push. If there's some sort of buzz around a BSC, yeah, people want to stake wormhole in hopes of monad. Stack BNB for some free airdrops. Okay, interesting. So they're creating like these yield programs, huh? This in the past this ended very bad for a lot of projects that promised yields and percentages for holding your shit. Um Interesting. Are you guys profitable on that? Have you guys made any money on this? I'm curious. Like people that have been farming airdrops, have you guys genuinely made money off of it? Yeah? Like secured straight to USDT or like holding unrealized UPNL? Farming airdrops have been so good for me. Interesting. Well, if you never did it, I think you guys should look into this. We got some people in here saying that farming. I'm almost at port all-time highs. That's very interesting. Airdrop games have slowed over a lot the past month, and that's normal. That's normal. You've been through like a 3 month chop solidation, right? It's been pretty brutal. It's not the up and downs that will make people leave a market. It's the sideways bleeding of doing nothing. People get impatient. They think it's too hard. It's actually when a market's going up and down where people are most present. Yeah, at this point in the cycle, shouldn't be too hard to be at all-time highs, but it's very impressive. You guys are doing it off free promised money. This is pretty interesting. It's one avenue I've never actually taken an interest in. I remember in the past we had Uniswap. I think Uniswap gave people like 25K. If I'm not mistaken, I remember Uniswap giving like a 25 or $4,000 airdrop, and like where I come from, $4,000 back in the day, like starting off was like unheard of. To get like 4,000 USDT to this like play the market. We've never had that. Like where I come from, we never had that. 4 grand is extremely hard to come by. Mistake I did in the past month is never take profits. It's a mistake, but you learn from it. Everybody needs to learn how to lose in order to prevent it, right? Like I can't tell someone, oh man, I know you're up 600K UPNL right now, but you got to secure some. They don't understand, and they will never understand until they go, oh shit, my life would feel so much more stress free if I just took 200K and put it aside, or if I just took that 20K and actually put it aside, live to fight another day. It's very, very hard when people's portfolios are roaring all time highs, and then the next day, that they hesitated, and then they wake up the next day and they're up another 40%. Like you don't know what that does to someone's brain, right? Like to tell someone, hey, I think you should be careful here, take something, pay yourself, and then the next day it just moons another 40%. Like they're never listening to you again. Like there comes a part in the cycle where like everybody takes my word seriously because the market is difficult and choppy and this and that. And then when I tell them to apply the same thing when a market's going roaring high, they just kind of go, this Rego guy, he's a fucking boomer. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then, for a couple of months, I'll be wrong. I'll be wrong, and people will print unusual amounts of money, and that's just the nature of it. The more experience you become in a market, the more I feel like the more you're in the market to protect yourself. More to lose, less to gain type thing, right? You become the hunted. Tough but important lesson learned. A round trip 7 figs in 2017 cycle. That is painful. That is painful. That's life changing shit. I'd be a liar if I said I've never round tripped 100K positions, a 7 figure position. I've done it in my life, but man, those were mistakes that made me lose sleep for months. Made me sick to my stomach for weeks. I couldn't. I promised myself I would never let that happen again, and I never did. I never did. I've taken L's. I've taken silly L's. I've taken stupid transfer fee L's. I've fat fingered some positions before, but I've never, ever, ever held past a point where I feel sick to my stomach again. You can't do it to yourself. It ruins the next day. It ruins the next week. It ruins like because you're holding on to 50K P&L that you refuse to let go because you think your idea is right. Like you're missing out. Like for the next 6 7 days, you're going to be stuck in like this emotional, tormented like phase, and you're not going to be able to see good opportunities because you're too tied into the losing position. Like if I did the math back then like I do today, it just doesn't. It's not worth it. If the idea is wrong, it's just wrong. Move on from it. You're missing out on tons of other ideas that deserve a cleaner look. Airdrop farming while we were chopping correcting is a good way to help position yourself for Q4. I agree, Wiz, and it's also a great way to get involved in a community or industry that is ever growing so quickly, right? I mean, these are the people that eat the most. Is the ones that are like truly fascinated with what they're involved in and are always trying the new tech, always experimenting. These are the ones that get these fucking crazy airdrops, right? So it's like super important. You guys like become obsessed with what you're trying to make money off of. It's very important. I became obsessed with Bitcoin and Ethereum to the point where like I need to know everything about it. And to this point, like the game is evolved so fast. It's evolved so fast that there's things that you guys talk about these days that I don't even know where we're at anymore. That's how crazy it's been. I got a lot of filling in from John and a couple of guys just to keep me up to date with shit that happens on chain. It moves so fast. So the ones that are always taking in new information, always not afraid to push the envelope, be a bit more optimistic on the space in general. Um, you know, gonna have big rewards, but at the same time, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You're gonna have a lot of risks, you know, on the table as well. But what's important is that ever so optimistic and continue trying. That's the one success story I see time and time again. Um, is the optimist always eventually walks away with the bag here. The pessimist, the pessimist, not so much. The pessimist can't see a good opportunity in front of them. Too busy worrying about how the market hurt him in the past, and that doesn't really do anything for anybody, right? To just dwell on things he could have done differently, or there's a time and place for that, but realistically proactive, right? Not reactive, proactive. That's how you want to treat a market. What's the next best thing? Like I can cry about it when I'm writing my notes, but when it's time to To be serious, you got to keep the market as your priority. Um, I think I covered all my spot bags, to be quite honest with you. So if you want to, just shoot the shit, Q&A, talk about some past experiences, talk about some alt projects. Now's the time to do it. We'll use the last 15, 30 minutes here to just talk shop. If we see a setup, we'll see a setup. But right now, it's just you know getting our 200 EMA touch here. Shocker! Imagine rushing into this position. Imagine. They've activated my trap card. Hmm. All right, we're gonna look for a deviation below this. If we get it, the sweep back above, hold a bit, we're good to go. But for now, we're not biting. What helped you to get profitable trading and how long it took you? That's a crazy question. It's a good one. It'll vary for person to person. Um, I want to say my profitability started to show in early 2020 or post COVID 2020. So I was at I was derivatives trading since 2018. 2018, spot buying since December of 2016, but derivatives trading since 2018, early 2018, and I got my ass whooped for 2 years straight. 2 years straight, biggest bear market I ever experienced. My first bear market, really. And I learned the hard way of what it is to be patient and what it is to spot volume that supports your ideas and et cetera, et cetera. I would say it took 4 years of learning the industry, 2 years of actually hands-on trading derivatives every day, like a true free market. Futures and no circuit breakers. I would say, yeah, 2 years of consistent futures trading to finally find an intraday strategy, profitability, and my own eclipse moment of progress. But I would say 2 years prior to that, I needed to understand what crypto was, how it operated, what it solved, why people are growing an obsession towards it. It was a lot of fundamental understanding before I can actually go, okay, I want to do this now. So it was becoming fascinated with money, how it works, and why this is the next solution, and why it's taken so seriously. And then after that was, well, if money has cycles and assets have cycles, that means this could be easily spotted. Boy, was I wrong. It wasn't so easily spotted. In fact, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. But someone, I forgot who, once told me it's the most complicated way to make an easy living. And that stuck with me because it's the most complicated thing I've ever done. Yeah, it could be the most rewarding thing and time efficient thing I've ever participated in. I haven't heard you take on meme coins. I see the narrative getting pushed more and more that retail prefers it over VC low flow coins for the million chains that we have now. In that sense, I guess that's right. I mean, retail would rather gamble on things that are funny, heavy community based, catchy, brandy, rather than get fooled over and over and over again by devs that pretend to have a solution and pretend to build on that solution and instead are just providing you with tokenomics that mathematically make no sense down the line. And oh, by the way, we gave all our project tokens to people at 5 pennies on the dollar and you're paying at full price. I get why retail might go, fuck this. Every time I buy into something, they promise me they're going to build. Instead, they're just spending it on strippers and cocaine on yachts in Miami. I get it. I get why people are like this. I get why they will gravitate towards memes. But make no mistake here. I don't think retail and for the most part we're retail as well, but I don't think true retail thinks this deep. That's the reality of it. Retail thinks along the lines of, holy shit, this went up 500%. It's still worth 5 pennies. Imagine if it goes to a dollar. So as long as you have that notion surrounded by hype, good branding, good community, that's what people are going to gravitate toward. It's how many of this token can I buy? And in my brain, does it entertain the lottery fantasy where it could be worth X dollars one day and now I'm rich? That is what people really care about the most, more than anything. So if it's going to be memes that's going to give them a more honest route towards that, that's what they're going to buy. But at the end of the day, whether you have a KOL or whether you have some pre-sale VC that got it for 5 cents on the dollar, at the end of the day, there's a lot of these sketchy dealings that go on with these projects. It kind of brings us back to why we can't trust money in the hands of people in the first place. That's where Bitcoin comes in, right? So like you get what I'm trying to say? It's there's a lot of sketchy shit when you're dealing with memes, and a lot of it is time sensitive information. So think as long as memes provide a lot of volatility, retail's going to jump all over that shit, and as long as a project that did not spoil itself by selling out to VCs and selling out to pre-sales and people of influence. I think as long as price moves, people are going to jump on it. As long as it's got a good brand, good community, and a strong belief system, it will do well. It will do well. I just don't know if this line is drawn by niches such as AI or memes or gaming. I really do think it's just people are going to move to whatever makes the most sense to them. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. BB crypto. The pre-sales, the influencers that get things pennies on the dollar. Like you're buying something at $4 retail price, right? How would you feel buying this thing at $4, knowing that I want to say six teams all got theirs for $1.50 and are getting them unlocked tomorrow and are gonna sell at you the price that you're buying at like a 3-4 times profit. I mean, there's no conviction there, is there? Right? It's not really fair. You're buying at $4 because this is the fair market price, and then you've only found out now that 3 months later, these people made a deal. Six groups of people made a deal and got it for $1, and now they're just getting it unlocked slowly. So the fact that it trades at $4, well, fuck that. Let me take my profits back. So there's no skin in the game for them, right? That's how VCs operate. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just it ruins the magic of how much money can I make on this project because I believe it to be undervalued. I mean, it can be undervalued. There's people that got it at $1.50. They're selling to you right here. So it's you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. That's all. You think it's just too designed to grab money, no real value for most? Am I thinking about bidding S3? I'm waiting for the deviation here. So if we actually break right here, then yeah, we have no choice but to look at S3. We're not going to bite on this again, like we said. We're going to wait for this to reclaim. I knew a sweep was coming, so it's always the same shit. Like lately, the past 2 3 weeks have just been the same thing over and over and over again, and it's just kind of boring because when I do see this, that means there's nothing to take, right? It's just like you expect. I think 3 days ago I tried to jump the gun early here, and it just fell right through. It just that's the nature of this market. It's edgeless right now. There is no real edge right here. Dropping deeper negative, getting a flush on our oscillator. Let's see. We flush over here, come back up. We hold it. We'll look to take it. But for now, we're just gonna let it sit. How do you know or see that you thought a sweep was coming? It's just pretty obvious to me. It's just no volume follow through on the daily open. And they love to do this. They love to make it look like, oh, it looks like we're gonna have an okay NY session day. And then all of a sudden, 45 minutes later after the session opens, sells just start getting turbo volume to the downside. So I just expected it. I just expected it based on the recent PA. There's been no rush. So I'm going to assume that whenever it makes me feel like I need to rush, there's no rush. It's just experience. I've been doing this every day for almost 8 years now. It's just I know my system. You know, it is what it is. I know my system. I just know when it's bullshit. it's, right away. That's why we wait for the sweep, the deviate, and then if we hold the price point, it means that we tried to push it down, we failed, we exhausted whatever sell momentum we have, and now any sort of slight buying back is going to create some sort of. I don't take advantage to do short scalps. I have a rule. And the rule is I don't short BDC. It's just a personal preference. I know some people, dude. I've been run out of a room for saying, I don't short BDC. But it's just there's so many better options. You know, here we are looking at 1.8 down, and then I could probably find something on this chart that's probably down like 5-6% today, like MNR. I just don't see the value. Head short though, I mean, staying flat is a short for me and myself, right? I'm flat USD on my intraday, so like taking no position is pretty much it's a flat short. I don't need to bet on the downside. I just need to know the downside's coming. Because the second you start, pulling a flip flop, hungry hippos, you're gonna make a mistake, and then you're chasing that mistake, and then your data's all fucked up. It's about preserving the data, right? Would you consider this a correction? Absolutely. I was one of the first ones to tell everybody it was a correction. The second you rejected the 67.7 level, you just had to assume a correction was coming, and that this could be anywhere between 50 to 53k to about 64 to 60k. All depends on how aggressive we are and how much of the dynamics have changed. Because I'm going to be honest with you, we've not spent much time. And when I mean that, I truly mean that we haven't spent as much time as you think we have up here. In the grand scheme of things, I think this is the longest time we've ever spent above 60,000. So therefore, all the data that we have to consider is relatively new and fresh. So for the most part, we're just going to have to assume that new prices being broken into means that we get a traditional correction. That traditional correction, it's more towards the 30-40% drawdown. If we go back in any of Bitcoin's history, our typical corrections are anywhere between 25 to 40%. I can prove this in just a moment. Uh, That's about 23%. This one should be around 17 or 25%, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 18%. And then this one is the one where everybody usually shits their pants. That's the 31, 32%, which is the one I think we're just seeing right here. Same thing, same exact thing, same exact thing. So yes, it's absolutely a correction. On alts, you've gotten your corrections. I think they've dropped as deep as I'm expecting them to go. Will they retest their lows? Most probably. It's not so easy to just along the bottom. But I'm going to assume that these lows hold out for the most part. I just take a look. Again, like I've mapped out a lot of things of what I expect to happen here. And that's how I'm treating it. Like INJ is the only one, and I mean it's the only one out of my 4 or 5 spot purchases that I'm just a bit hesitant on, just because it dove a lot deeper. That might take a lot longer than I probably expected. I feel like it took taking much longer. It might take a lot longer than I'm anticipating. So that hurts whenever there's opportunity cost. See, he wants a turbo nuke here. Thank God. But French, when it comes to taking opportunity to do short scalps, you could take it this way, right? Take it this way whenever I'm discussing an M15 strategy. A lot of the times, the same way I look for my mean and bias to be determined at the pivot at 200 EMA. If I'm looking for a short bias, or if I'm looking for a sign that suggests a short bias, I'm looking for the same thing in reverse. The only difference is between a long and a short setup is that when longers are present, the setup becomes very, very easy because it's more of a momentum thing. Whereas when it's a short setup, it's much more calculated. Slippage is much more of a bigger deal. And the painful price you have to pay if you're on the wrong side of that has proven to me too many times that it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Staying flat and hedged and looking for the eventual buyback has always been my better strat, especially on the M15. I don't confuse myself. I don't chop myself. If the signs are bearish, then I understand that it's bearish. Like if I go towards yesterday, right? And again, you could apply this however you see fit, because that's it's levels, and then after that follows a bias. So for me, I like to keep it optimistic. And for the most part, whenever I don't have my pivot or my 200 EMA supporting, I get this sort of PA where we reject from an area that I would enter, right? So if you had a short scalp setup over here, you would think, oh look, weakness at the pivot, the 200 EMA sitting above, I'm good here. Price will trickle down, you'll think you made the right idea, and then all of a sudden you're just back at your entry. And then price goes back down, and all of a sudden you're underwater. It's so much more difficult to determine a short setup, especially when we're in the process of a correction, to know if your short setup is actually going to pay off. Like, because most of the time, in a short amount of time, a short will pay off. It's the covering that makes it very difficult. When to cover, how to cover, you know, it becomes much more difficult, especially on the mechanical side of things. So I choose to avoid it. Just because we're dealing with a supply scarce asset, it's not so easy to determine where supply can just infinitely keep coming out of nowhere. It's better to assume that eventually whatever is being sold will have to slow down eventually because there is only X amount that exists, right? So that's my thesis. It's better to always look for where's the next place to buy. Um, that's how I've treated Bitcoin for 8 years. That's how I'll continue to treat it. I have yet to lose. And that's it. Um, Now, if you want to talk about short setups on pairings that have infinite supplies and infinite tokens, now we're talking. Because now you can just assume that someone else is just going to sell on weakness. Someone else is just going to add the momentum, and you don't really have to play that factor in all the time, right? So it's a much easier way to go about it. If you're going to short, try to play more volatile setups. There's a lot of metrics that usually help you. Typically, a dominance drop, neat BTC weakness, higher rates of funding. This usually leads to some pretty nasty short setups. You know, it's very volatile. Isn't everything outside of crypto supply scarce asset essentially, apart from inflationary vested shitcoins? Yes and no. The only difference is when you're dealing in crypto and when you're dealing in TradFi has rules that will prevent you from exploiting this, whereas crypto is sayonara if you're on the wrong side of a trade, and it will take you to zero so fast you wouldn't even know it hit you. Like we've seen this. This is the difference between TradFi and crypto, right? When you actually have an honest blockchain protocol, once it's written, it can either only be forked or rebranded as something else. Whatever's set in stone is set in stone. TradFi, however, stock splits, circuit breakers, hedge funds rebalancing their positions, making sure there's enough supply now that they know how much demand is there. It's all bullshit. It's a complete bullshit market. And as long as you swim with the fish, you're going to be fine. But if you ever try to go for the big hitter Hollywood trade, which are everywhere in TradFi, the only thing preventing it is pretty much all the rules in place. If you had ever the opportunity to go for a Hollywood trade, your chances are you're going to be investigated for it. You're a bunch of fucking restrictions are just going to hit you. So there's a big difference. There's a big difference. There's a ton of rules in TradFi where they could just be like, oh yeah, but we're changing it now, so everybody has a chance. That's how they love to spin it. Crypto's a free market. You fucked up, too bad. GG, RIP. Show yourself on liquidation calls and call it a day. Try again. Like I respect that about crypto, and as much as some of these scams are complete vaporware, they're not lying to you about the fact that it's vaporware. You just got to do a bit of math. You know, that's it. Don't listen to the words of developers and what they're doing. Just look at the math. If the tokenomics do not add up, the market cap does not add up. I'll give you an example of what we did. Right? Why do you think we closed WorldCoin before it became worth less than what we sold it for, despite it going up to $14, $12? I remember us buying WorldCoin at $2.80. We sold half of that bag to make our money back, right? So once it got to 5.6, we sold half of that to get our money back. Then I remember selling at about 7.8, and the reason for selling at 7.8 was not because, oh, I'm taking a hunch here and I think this is topped out. It was the fact that how the fuck is WorldCoin have a higher market cap valuation than OpenAI itself, the original company that started this whole thing? How is a coin that was given for free have a higher valuation than the company OpenAI itself? That was my thesis for that. I'm like, this is way overvalued. This is bullshit. And we just decided to close it out. I think it was almost a 200% trade. Yeah, we were right for a bit. Price popped up to 11, $12. We thought we made a stupid mistake, and then look at it now. It's just with crypto, you just do the math, and it's pretty straightforward. Problem is like a lot of emotions, a lot of belief tied into people's math, and it's just wrong. I do this a lot with Bitcoin. You know, I do this a lot with BTC, but you guys would be wise to do this with projects you feel like you're holding on to for no reason. Just do the math. What is the token? What are the tokenomics? How are they getting released? Who owns them? What's the business structure in place? How is this getting released? Why do they have so much market supply? And what do they plan to do with it? Once you can answer this, appreciate it, Wilson. I feel like we're cooking this stream. I feel like we're cooking this stream. We're gonna have to close it in 5-10 minutes though. I got some errands to run, unfortunately. But you can tell your opinion to market cap versus fully diluted market cap. For me, is like if the M cap is way bigger than market cap, it's expensive to buy. How do you utilize this info? This is a bigger topic, BB Crypto. I wouldn't be able to just talk about this in 5 minutes. But if you guys are interested in specifically market caps, tokenomics, any sort of data you can use that's considered mathematical, we could definitely focus a stream on this so that at least we cover all bridges over here and try not to cross or leap above one without understanding the other. I think that's a good topic. I just assume on chain would be teaching you this, which maybe they have. I'm pretty sure they have. Yeah, I think it's a great topic, but we'll need more time to go over market cap versus a diluted market cap and what tokenomics can do and remaining supply and circulating supply. It does play a big factor. You want like as traders, right? As traders, not speculators, you got to do everything you can to understand the metrics that you're dealing with. It's super important. It's going to be such a leapfrog of an advantage when you just understand why stuff is happening the way it's happening, instead of having to assume, oh, what's the FUD article? Oh, who sold? Oh, who's doing this? If you know how things are distributed and how people are getting paid and how supply is becoming supply, you base your decisions and your convictions much better, right? Instead of just going, oh well, let me try to find the FUD article because that's the only reason why it would be going down today. No, it's like, little did six VCs just unlocked everything and are selling at a fucking 16x profit. You wouldn't be so quick to buy then, right? So also, like, it's important that you as a trader, you use every pixel on your fucking screen in front of you, every single pixel. I don't care if you have a 49-inch, 13-inch, I don't care which one you have. I don't care if you have quadruple monitors. If you're trading, every single pixel on that screen should be used to your advantage to make a better trade. It's super important. So again, if we're going to deal with meme coins, shit coins, promise to do stuff slash not really coins, um, very, very important you understand how they're distributed, because that's going to prevent you from making a purchase either too soon or too late, or in a wrong area. It's strategy, guys. Conquest. Think conquest. And as you can see, fell right through. No reason for me to take this. No reason whatsoever. I'm pretty sure I made myself clear from the start. We're going to wait for that first test. If we get a deviation back above, then we look to take it. If we don't, fuck it. Mills coming in with the fucking short. No way he did that. No way he did that in the middle of my stream. On the 50x on Femex. Man, you're living life on the edge, you, huh? I like it. I like it. That's a big setup. Nice breakdown. I see what your trigger was. Nice breakdown trigger. As you can see, these volume sell candles they're just out of whack, man. Out of whack. We're getting some BDC outflows today, man. It is what it is. I don't like these straight catapult nukes. I don't like these straight catapult nukes at all. Back to positive. Dropping on Ethereum, Solana, just kind of fucking hovering at 0.01. Yuma still fucking heavy negative incentive, but I assume that's over now, right? I think yesterday Uma was showing us. That's actually not bad. That's actually not bad. I thought it'd be looking worse. You're getting paid what? 1% for all this for the past few days? Wow, straight through S1 as well. That's interesting. I'd be really shocked if it doesn't deviate over here. This is usually where we chop out. Just do nothing. Looks like we might get an S3 level, guys. Unbelievable. 2904 is now on the radar. That's crazy. Whew. Okay, we must be missing something. There must have been something that. Wish I had my tape open. Whoa, 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 whoa. Well, at least we're getting some action for the first time. It's been a while, no, guys? I think it's been a while. Always talking while price does fucking nothing. Finally got something. But no S3, man. What the fuck? Well, now we can remove this. Does anybody see an article or anything, some sort of stupid filing or something that came out that probably scared people? Ah, that's why. 2 billion worth of Bitcoin and Ethereum options expired today. Interesting. All right, that makes more sense. Yeah, 2 billion options expiry. So that makes a lot of sense. Force the yeah. That makes more sense. That's more of like a forced closing. That makes because it just came out of nowhere, right? Like that was a bit render looks okay. It's not where are my pivots, man? Why is it taking so long? Uh-oh, we're lagging. Trading views lagging, boys. This is not good. Mayday, mayday. I mean, it doesn't look terrible. Oscillator bottoming out. Funding's a bit high though. Market cap 4.3 bill, volume 24 hours. Doing well underneath the market cap's volume. Not too bad actually. Not too bad. I've seen worse. I've seen worse, especially for a data that's looking like this. Any other things I can take a look at over here? What the fuck is this? Why do they change everything all the time, bro? All right. How's my dollar doing? I'm curious. Still rejecting supply, huh? Can this thing do us all a favor and just die? Like, ugh. Putting up a fight, this thing, huh? Oh, whatever. It's doomed. It's inevitable. Uh, how's gold doing? I'm curious. Big oof. Is this the last wipeout before we're heading to new all-time highs? I wouldn't, you know, don't go too crazy on what's the last and the first and the yada yada yada. Just take the chart as it is. I really don't like how we sweep this low without giving me my S3 and now forcing me into a shitty position. The R and S levels, you know, pretty much they're just pivotal Fibonacci levels. You know, R1, R2, R3 are typically our take profits. Let's say we take a bid off the pivot. We usually take 33% off here, move stop to break even, 33%, and 33% close out the trade fully. We trail it instead of, you know, trying to find the perfect top and bottom of every trade. And then S1 and S2 we typically ignore because that's usually a choppy indecisive level that doesn't usually give us any leadway. And S3 is usually our mean reversion play, which is usually the lowest expectation we have for an intraday chart and the place where we expect most immediate response. So that's a trade setup in itself. You have S3, and then you have the pivot plus 200 EMA. These are like my two textbook setups, usually pivot 200 EMA and then S3. Conditional, right? You'll take this after you sweep the lows, come back up, then you look to hold it. This is a bit too far of a drop though for me. Like even if we do come back up here, it would be very, very tricky to take the trade. Increase sell volume. It'd be nice if we absorb this. You go to pivots. So you go over here. You select this one. And you'll click on the pivots and you'll set it to fib, auto, number of pivots back, 1. And you take it from there. Well, not looking like a good day. So boring. Uh, Profit. I usually map them out just based on my fibs right here. That's what this is all for. It's just every day it resets and automates itself. I don't actually have to touch much. Typically, when I have my full setup out, like I usually use a bunch of other things, right? I'm not even signed in on this one. That's weird. I'll typically use Okotoki, um, my template, but I'm on the wrong browser for some reason, so I wouldn't be able to. Yeah, I don't have my thing out, but usually I have this out, my tape out, my added tape over here, my funding rates, my open interests. Like, there's a bunch of things I consider. It's just it's impossible to tell you guys this in 5 minutes. Like it's impossible. It's like it's a whole like fucking itinerary I would need to follow to like really break it down to the point where you guys feel like you're understanding something. How do you read Okotoki? It's just pretty much horizontal or vertical or horizontal. Is horizontal standing up or vertical going to the right? I can't remember. Horizontal, right? Vertical is up. Okay. It's just vertical order books. Just every exchange, every index is different, right? Now I'm not using the one that I actually have because I'm on a different browser account for some reason. I should be on the other one. That's a mistake on my app. But usually I have this all set up for the indexes I follow, right? So whenever there's large, discounts on certain exchanges, that plays a role. Ah, horizontal think horizon as a reminder. That's very smart. That's very smart. That's good. That's good. I like that. That's actually gonna stay with me for life. Not even kidding. Yeah, I guess what we'll do for next stream, since it seems to be of high interest, we'll discuss, you know, live tape, how to watch it, open interest, funding rates, how to determine it, um, fully diluted market caps versus market caps, tokenomics and supplies and distribution and how it works and why it's so difficult to always come up with a thesis for it. That's seems like a pretty interesting topic. It's gonna be a boring one, guys. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be a boring ass subject. So I hope you guys are ready. Um, like I don't even like talking about it because it bores me so fucking much. But yeah, it's boring, but it works. The problem is, like, where do you start? I'd actually have to go and like create myself like a PowerPoint to structure what I have to say because it's a lot of information. It's a lot of information. It's not just so technical, right? It's a lot of conditionals and things to spot, but how to take it as something that benefits you, not something that confuses you. ETH long a 200 2900 area. If we manage to get it, yeah. I don't like I don't like why we're selling off like this. Like volume just kind of came out of nowhere. I would assume this is a liquidation of some sort. What is really biting on longs? Let me take a look at something else just for good measure. Take care, Wiz. Thanks for joining by. We're gonna end this off soon too. It's been almost an hour. I don't want to keep these things too long. Okay. What the fuck happened here? $64 million completely rinsed. And that all happened in the last hour. There's no doubt. All longs, all longs. Bunch of baboons. I don't know. These are silly positions. Why the dollar pump like that? Beats me, man. Probably front running CPI. That's my guess. CPI is next week, right? I would assume it's that. Stock market taking a hit. Yeah. Bitfinex still building their longs. Yeah, sort of. I just care if Bitfinex is building here. That's really all I care about. This is CoinGlass. Coinglass.com. Oh wow, Bybit really not making much of a dent anymore. Most of the baboons are on Binance these days. Interesting. Yeah, we just saw it. We just saw all the longs that got liquidated. 64. 64 mil. In the past 24 hours, 55,762 traders are liquidated. Look, total liquidations coming out 150. Largest single liquidation order happened on Binance at value point 3.56 mil. So those are a number of participants that got liquidated, not just one. That's good. It's the lick flush. It's looking. Why do they not show me Bifinex anymore, man? That really pisses me off. I've seen worse. Like I've seen worse futures data. Like this is a total spot sell. I don't see anything crazy from the future side of things. So someone like pretty much offloading here. Yeah, eSpace. Stay away from people that say they're gonna trade your money for you. It's I'll never I will never ever ask people to send me money so I could trade for them. I enjoy my peace of mind very much, you know? I just assume someone's trying to scam you if they say they'll do that because I don't know anybody that would put that burden on themselves. But guys, we're just about an hour here. I don't want to go over anybody's time. I'm not sure if there's another stream coming up. Okay, we have Guru at 1. I'm gonna have to get off here though. We've been on for an hour and about 10 minutes. Guys, for now we have our plan S3. It's probably the only place I'm able to look at. Ethereum, I'm more on the fence about, less likely to take this one just because we seem to be seeing a strong sell-off here. I don't want to be caught in the middle of it. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys were able to ask some questions and get more insight to the more boring side of trading and the days of trading that aren't as exciting and fun. Um, but yeah, guys, I'd like to think we had a really good stream here today, and I hope I see you guys back for the next one. Hopefully, we'll have a bit more to talk about in terms of what we can learn and what we can't. I appreciate it, guys. If you have any questions whatsoever, as always, you know where to find me, you know where to reach me, DMs or mention me in the chat, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible. Appreciate you guys all for tuning in, and man, hopefully we don't have to make another stream before the end of the week. But if it gets bad and rowdy, we will. All right, guys. Take care. Trade safe and don't rush into anything. All right, guys.